Right, now we move to our second system, which is the human reproductive system. Under the human reproductive system, we are going to look at events that take place after fertilization. Looking at the exam guidelines, we are going to define the process of fertilization. Directly after that, the development of the zygote into an embryo, morula, and blastula stage, and to the fetus. Next, we are going to define implantation. We are going to look at the structure of the developing fetus in the uterus using diagrams. And then we are going to look at the functions of all of those parts. So that is a lot, so we need to move right along. Right, now I have a simulation here that shows fertilization and what happens after fertilization. I will be describing as the simulation is going on. Something to remember is that, remember, the sperm cells are introduced into the female reproductive system in the vaginal opening. They will move up the cervix into the uterus, and some will go to the left fallopian tube, some will go to the right fallopian tube. And if the ovum is found on the right fallopian tube, that is the site of fertilization. Let us go right into it. Now, there are our sperm cells in the vaginal opening. They will move up the vagina to the cervix, to the fallopian tubes, and then when they get to the fallopian tubes, there they are in the fallopian tubes. Remember, only the first sperm that reaches the fallopian tubes and gets to the ovum will fertilize the ovum. There we go. Remember, the sperm contains digestive enzymes to digest the outer layer of the ovum. So inside the ovum, the nuclei fertilize, and then we have a zygote, a single fertilized ovum, which divides by mitosis, as you can see, to form a morula. Then as the morula is dividing, it moves down the fallopian tubes to the uterus, and then it forms what we call a blastocyst. So that is the blastula stage. Let me just go back. What's the difference between the morula stage that you see there? If the morula is a solid, it is a solid group of cells. However, as time goes on, it continues to divide by mitosis to form a hollow ball of cells. So there is the hollow part over there, a hollow ball of cells. And then when it has a hollow ball of cells, then is the blastula stage. And then at its blastula stage, when it has reached the endometrium, then it will bury itself to the rich endometrium, to the thick of endometrium, and that we call implantation. All right, moving right along. So fertilization, development of the zygote, and implantation. Let's start firstly by the term fertilization. Let's start there. Fertilization. What is fertilization? Fertilization is when a diploid sperm fertilizes a diploid ovum to form not diploid, made a huge mistake there. It is when a haploid sperm fertilizes a haploid ovum to form a diploid zygote. So the nucleus of the haploid sperm merges with the nucleus of a haploid ovum to form a diploid zygote. Then, what happens to the zygote after it has been formed. Remember, the zygote is one cell. The zygote is one cell. It is the fertilized ovum. It is the fertilized ovum. So what is going to happen to it? It is going to undergo mitosis. Remember, we have two cell divisions in main cell divisions. We have mitosis and we have meiosis. Mitosis, one of the roles of mitosis is growth. So how does a single-celled zygote become multicellular? It undergoes mitosis to form firstly a morula, which is a solid ball of cells, and then the morula is going to divide again by mitosis to form a hollow ball of cells, as you can see over there, which is the blastocyst. And then the blastocyst will bury itself on the thick endometrium, and we call that implantation. Then, as you can see over there, it has implanted itself on the endometrium, as we can see over there. And then after implantation, the blastocyst continues to grow by mitosis to form an embryo, and it will grow again to form what we call a fetus. Now, from here, we are going to be looking at implantation specifically. When we speak about implantation, the blastocyst moves from the fallopian tubes to the uterus, where it embeds or buries itself to the endometrium. This is called implantation. It takes place as follows. The blastocyst sinks into the softer area of the endometrium, and its outer layer, the outer layer of the blastocyst, forms two extra-embryonic membranes. Two extra-embryonic membranes. Extra means outside the embryo. So we have the embryo that is growing. So besides the embryo, outside of the embryo, we have two main membranes that is formed by the outer layers of the blastocyst, as we can see over there. We have the amnion. We need to know what that is and what the function of that is. And the chorion. Also, we need to know what that is and what the function of that is. The chorion extends finger-like outgrowths called the chorionic villi. One villus, many villi. So these chorionic villi are these structures that we see over there that embed themselves to the thick endometrium. So the chorion extends finger-like outgrowths called chorionic villi into the endometrium to form the placenta. So actually, the placenta is a combination of the endometrium, where the chorionic villi have embedded themselves. So both the chorionic villi and the endometrium form the placenta. That region of implantation is the placenta. Then the blastocyst is now called an embryo. So after implantation, we use the term embryo. So the development of the fetus during the gestation period. Like we said, during gestation or pregnancy, there are two main extra-embryonic membranes. The one is the chorion. Excuse me, I don't know what's happening there. The one is the chorion. And then the chorion forms the chorionic villi, which are those finger-like projections that are embedded in the softer parts of the endometrium. And so, like we said, the chorionic villi, the region where the chorionic villi has embedded itself to the endometrium, that will form the placenta. And then the chorionic villi are embedded in the mother's endometrium. The placenta forms a tube that is called the umbilical cord. The umbilical cord connects the fetus to the mother through this region, which is called the placenta. And then we have the amnion, the second amniotic fluid, the second extra-embryonic membrane, the amnion or the amniotic sac, and then the amnion has the amniotic fluid, this one highlighted in gray, that is inside the amniotic cavity. Remember, a cavity is a space, any space within the body. So the amnion is like the container. The space inside that container, the space inside the amnion is the amniotic cavity, and the space will be filled with fluid, which is the amniotic fluid. Now, the umbilical cord contains 2 blood vessels, the umbilical vein and 2 umbilical arteries. We need to know what the function of the umbilical vein is and the functions of the umbilical artery as well. Right, let's go into the functions. So, the chorion, the function of the chorion is that it forms the placenta, it together with the endometrium. Remember, the chorionic villi embeds on the mother's endometrium, and then that forms the placenta. The chorionic villi separates the maternal blood from the fetal blood. That is very, very, very correct when we look. Okay. Now, the endometrium, which is here, is the part of the mother. We see that it has blood capillaries that are bringing oxygenated blood to the placenta. And then the chorionic villi, they are part of the fetal structures, which are bringing deoxygenated blood from the fetus. Okay? What I want you to notice is that between the blood capillaries of the mother over there and the blood capillaries of the fetus in the chorionic villi, I want you to notice that there is a space. There is a space over there. There is a space over there. So, the substances that move from the mother to the fetus move by diffusion. They move by diffusion from an area of high concentration from the maternal blood of the mother, to low concentration in the chorionic villi, which is the fetal blood, and vice versa. The substances that need to move from the fetus to the mother move from a high concentration in the blood of the fetus to low concentration in the blood of the mother. So it is the substances that diffuse. The blood stays separated. The maternal blood runs in the maternal capillaries of the endometrium, and then the fetal blood runs in the fetal blood vessels, which are in the chorionic villi. The blood does not mix. The substances diffuse in and out through diffusion and osmosis. Okay, going back. So that is the function of the chorionic villi, to separate the maternal blood, blood of the mother, from the fetal blood, blood of the fetus. Right, from there we go to the placenta. From there we go to the placenta. The function of the placenta, it serves as an attachment of the fetus to the mother, diffusion of nutrients from the mother to the fetus. Remember, nutrients must go to the baby. When the mother eats and digests, the nutrients move from the maternal blood to the fetal blood by diffusion. Nutrients must go to the baby, must go to the fetus. It serves as a gaseous exchange between the mother and the fetus, meaning oxygen diffuses from the maternal blood to the fetal blood, and carbon dioxide diffuses from the fetal blood to the mother's blood. So it's a gaseous exchange surface. Diffusion of waste products from the fetus to the mother. Remember, the fetus also produces nitrogenous waste. So the nitrogenous, since the baby, or the fetus rather, cannot excrete his or her excretion system is not working yet. It depends on the mother for that. So the nitrogenous or metabolic waste diffuses from the fetal blood to the maternal blood, and then the mother will excrete that for him or her. After 12 weeks, it secretes progesterone to maintain pregnancy. Remember, progesterone keeps the endometrium thick so that pregnancy, until the end of the gestation period. The endometrium must be thick because that is the site of attachment of the fetus for the whole 12 months, or for the remainder of the gestation period. Is it gestation or is it gestation? You are going to have to excuse my pronunciation. Moving right along. Amniotic cavity. Remember that the amnion is the container. The amniotic cavity is the space within the container. Right. So the amniotic cavity contains the amniotic fluid. And again, that is where the baby will develop. That is where the fetus will develop. I'm not using scientific terms here. Very sorry, the fetus, not the baby. Okay. Amniotic fluid, what does that do? It protects the fetus against mechanical or physical injury. Therefore, we say it is a shock absorber. So if there's any physical or mechanical force that comes from the outside, let's say, for example, the mother bumps into a table, some of the forces will be absorbed by this fluid, and minimal force will reach the growing fetus. So it is a shock absorber because it absorbs mechanical forces or physical forces so as to protect the fetus. Right? And then, because it's a fluid, it's watery, it prevents dehydration of the fetus. Remember, there's a lot of chemical reactions that are happening in the development of the baby, and we know that chemical reactions cannot happen in a dry environment. They require a solvent, which is water. Maintains the temperature of the fetus, and then allows for free movement of the fetus as it grows and develops. Right. Let's look at the umbilical cord. We said that the umbilical cord has two main blood vessels. We have the umbilical artery, and then we have the umbilical vein. All right? Let's look at what they do. The umbilical cord attaches the fetus to the placenta and contains The umbilical arteries, which carry, guys, deoxygenated blood and waste products from the fetus to the placenta. We know in general, the arteries of the body carry oxygenated blood and the veins carry deoxygenated blood. However, in the umbilical cord, the arteries carries deoxygenated blood. Remember, deoxygenated blood is blood deprived of oxygen. Blood deprived of oxygen. And blood deprived of oxygen, that has less oxygen, should never, ever, 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 ever go to the fetus. It must go away because it has high concentrations of carbon dioxide and low concentrations of oxygen. So, the umbilical vein carries oxygenated blood. It is blood that is oxygenated, blood that has a lot of oxygen, and also has nutrients, also has water. So those are the good things. So that is what must go to the growing fetus. So oxygenated blood carrying oxygen, water, as well as nutrients go from the mother, or the placenta rather, to the fetus. And then the fetus absorbs the oxygen and gives carbon dioxide as well as metabolic waste to the blood. So the blood will be deoxygenated and it will be taken by the umbilical arteries back to the placenta, to the mother, and the mother will just simply excrete all these excrements from herself and from her growing fetus. Okay, let's now look at the composition of the blood in the blood capillaries. In the blood vessels in the umbilical cord. Blood vessel, umbilical vein. The type of blood that flows in the umbilical vein is oxygenated blood, blood rich in oxygen. The direction of blood flow is from the placenta, the mother side, to the fetus. And blood composition of the oxygenated blood, what is it composed of? Because it is oxygenated, of course, it will have oxygen, it will have diffused nutrients like fatty acids, glycerol, glucose, and amino acids, and also it will have water. So the mother would ingest the nutrients, inhale the oxygen, and drink the water, and then some of it will go to the growing fetus. Let's look at the composition in the umbilical artery. The type of blood that flows in the umbilical artery will be blood deprived of oxygen, meaning blood with less oxygen, deoxygenated blood. The direction of blood flow, remember, deoxygenated blood has less oxygen and more carbon dioxide, so it shall never go to the fetus. It should go to the mother to be excreted. So it moves from the fetus to the placenta of the mother, and then it is composed of substances which are carbon dioxide from the fetus and nitrogenous waste such as urea. So, just like that, ladies and gentlemen, we have reached the conclusion of our lesson 5, and this video was the conclusion to the lesson topic of human reproduction. I hope that you enjoyed the content and it was impactful in your learning process. Please like, leave a comment, subscribe, and share the link to this video. It is essential for the growth of my channel, and I would appreciate that very much. As usual, I appreciate you watching and I appreciate the support On the next lesson, we will be working out exam type questions in order for us to assess that you have understood the content of this lesson. Thank you so very much, and goodbye for now.